of the Countdown to the Build a Better Business workshop. In this series, a preview series, you're going to get a look at what Debra Taylor, the leader of the workshop, will be teaching in the workshop itself and how it can help you better serve your clients and gain new ones by working smarter and not harder. So if you want to go ahead and learn more about this 4-day virtual workshop, which is spread out between July 11th, July 18th, July 25th, and then August 1st, you can go to horsesmouth.com/BBBW23. And for those of you joining us in Zoom, I'll go ahead and put that into the chat right now. And if you are watching one of the live streams, you can find the link in the description beneath the stream player. So today, you're going to be taking a look at day 2 of the workshop, which includes the sessions Build an Amazing Marketing and Communication Strategy, and then the client experience. So to kick us off, I'll hand things over to Horse's Mouth Editor-in-Chief, Sean Bailey. Sean.
Thanks, Doug, and thanks everyone out there who's watching live or listening later on. Debbie, great to see you. So we're talking about what you're going to be doing in the upcoming workshop. And, the first piece is about building an amazing marketing and communication strategy. And, I was just recalling, because it was a piece of data I was meditating over with our financial educator marketing coaching program just yesterday. And it has to do with the marketing, having a marketing plan. And, consistently industry surveys, Debbie, have shown that 77% of advisors, okay, this has been done year in and year out. It goes between 76, 78, 77, don't operate from a defined marketing strategy. What is a defined marketing strategy? Well, it's a marketing plan, AKA a marketing plan. So, in these live streams in advance of your program, we're supposed to be talking about the what and the why. And, the other aspect of that piece of data is that the 77% who don't have a defined marketing strategy also aren't very confident they can meet their business goals. But the 23% that do, 3 out of 4 say they have very high confidence that they're going to meet their goals by the end of the year. So anyway, I'm sorry that I'm answering the sort of why in this particular situation, but I just want to kind of put it out there for you, Debbie, to kind of run with that for a second before we, move on from marketing plan to webinars and virtual client events, which I know you have a lot of experience with. But anyway, your thoughts on the marketing plan stuff?
Yeah, what gets measured gets done, right? So simple. So in that sense, everyone should have a business plan. People should have KPIs. People should have a marketing plan. I think part of the challenge, Sean, when you see 77% of advisors not doing that, which is a scary high number, is I think there's sort of an intimidation factor. They feel overwhelmed. And so what I would suggest is you would start small, start simple. And we talk about that in the workshop. So it's not one size fits all. My marketing plan and the structure could look very different than your marketing plan. And that's okay. But I think the idea is to start simple, start getting something on paper, make sure everybody in the room understands what's expected during the course of the year. And again, what gets measured gets done.
Right. I also think there is a certain enabling factor that has been going on for quite a while relating to advisors, not having a marketing plan. And that has been, I think, at some level, the Federal Reserve and the markets in general over the last 10 or 15 years. The punch bowl was there. Their underlying assets are growing and their revenue is growing. So there is sometimes maybe a feeling like, I'm doing fine, I'm doing great, or I kind of have a marketing plan. What's in my head? And look, we're doing well. That works as long as it works, and then it doesn't. And like you said, things that get measured, you can manage what you measure, you manage. And, that is really critical. So, but I'm glad you also mentioned that, in your workshop, this is not a workshop of people, we want you to become like Debbie Taylor. Instead, it's like, no, Debbie Taylor is the practice management chef who has put out a smorgasbord for people. And, the idea, you don't need everything when you go to the smorgasbord. You pick and choose what you like and what seems appealing to you. And, that is the same with your workshop, as I know we've discussed that before. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because different things will make sense to you depending on where you are at your journey. And so I'm constantly evolving with how I approach my marketing plan, my KPIs. And so something that looked really good to me a couple of years ago and that we did, right? Maybe it was like super thorough, maybe went into all this detail. And then like the next year, I'm like, I don't know if I needed all that detail. So then I'll scale it back a little bit. And so part of the workshop is just having a dialogue about, like you're saying, the smorgasbord, the opportunities, and you might approach it a certain way today, but then in the back of your head, you'll be like, oh, but she mentioned in the workshop, there are these other ways to approach it. And then maybe a year or two from now, when you hire that marketing person, or you decide that you want to go all in on a certain niche or a target market, and then you're like, yeah, we need to build out that marketing plan in the ways that Debbie mentioned, which weren't so relevant previously, but now makes a lot of sense for our practice.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you're absolutely right. It doesn't need to be massively detailed or anything. Here at Horse's Mouth, we have our master membership and our members of our advisor client program. We literally have a marketing plan for you that, that we set the table for you. And, obviously it's not everything you can or should do relating to your marketing, but it is a core set of activities. I always feel like, marketing is like, do the activities. If they're sensible and they're going into the right channel, just do those at a minimum, because we just see time and again, like you put this energy out there, it's not a huge amount of energy either. Stuff comes back, things happen that then lead to interactions, conversations, new clients, referrals, whatever the case may be. And so that will be one of the things that people will be, working with you during the course of your 4-week program. And by the way, everybody, this is a great opportunity for you to have make a significant jump in terms of, where you're going with your business. And we've set it up so that you're with Debbie for 3 hours a week, 4 weeks in a row. That gives you time to metabolize what you're learning, share it with your staff, give it a try, bring it back to Debbie and other people in the program as you go through. So, Debbie, the other aspect of amazing marketing communication strategy is webinars and virtual client events. And, I'm big on the webinar thing. Before the pandemic, I was kind of like, you got to have a decent email list and, some brand for to be successful with webinars and being online. And then the pandemic came and there was no other choice. And the world just literally changed. In a matter of months, it was absolutely clear that, webinars have to be part of your, part of your bag of your tool in your toolkit. What can you say about the webinars and virtual client events?
Just listening to you, Sean, it's amazing how much the practice has evolved, right? Things that we didn't even think we could do. And now we're like, yeah, that's a must do. And so that's one of the cool things about the workshop is we do talk again about all those options and ways to approach things. And then you can figure out what makes sense for your practice. And so I do agree. We do the webinars now. And again, I've been all over the place with the webinars, right? Again, as things evolved, as the market and client needs evolve. So I wasn't doing webinars at all. Everything was in person before COVID. And then COVID hit. And I was doing monthly webinars during COVID, and we started those literally within 3 weeks of COVID hitting. Sean, Sean knows that obviously. And so we were doing every month. Then, the attendance started tapering off because people got their lives back and there's screen fatigue. And so now we're doing webinars quarterly. But we will also do special interest webinars if there's legislation that's passed. We have a Medicare webinar in the fall where we bring in an expert. We did a webinar right after the elections a couple of years ago. And so there are times where something specific happens, it's event driven, and we'll be like, hey, let's schedule a webinar on this. And so that's where we are now for the webinars. But let me be clear, we are doing quarterly webinars because my prospecting work, I get significant referrals from Center of Influences. So the webinars as a prospect outreach are not as critical a tool to me now as they were in the past. But right. In the past, to be clear, I was using in-person and webinars for my prospect outreach. And so that's where, again, everybody's situation is different. And it's just sort of knowing the tools that are in your toolkit and how best to use them.
Right. Yeah, in the financial educator marketing coaching program, we spend a couple different sessions on, the whole about in person and about webinars. And, we recommend, because we've got the data and we've got the case studies, that look, if you're in a business building mode and you don't have other sources of business, having a monthly webinar, it's so easy to do. And it promotes referrals among your clients, and it gives you the opportunity to to kind of harvest the potential business that exists in your ongoing prospect list, that email list that you have that hopefully is 500 or 1,000 people beyond your client base. They're out there, they're interested, they're following you. And as long as you cultivate that list and engage with them on topics of importance, which we all know what those are, that leads to business too. And
and let me throw in there, by the way, is we are actually doing the webinars to our centers of influence, and they're bringing in the clients to sit in on our webinars. Right. So again, is knowing the tools in your toolkit and then leveraging them, how it best fits your practice and where you want your practice to go. So in the past, I was doing the webinars and just leaving it wide open to our distribution list, which is over 1,000 people, and also advertising in newspapers and on social media and things like that. So it was more sort of this broader approach. But now that I have these relationships with these center of influences, they are the ones that are feeding the clients to me. So now I'm doing webinars that they are showing to their clients and helping me to close business. So again, a lot of flexibility here.
Yeah. And also you're going to be getting into virtual client events. These are, I believe, the non-educational, but just sort of social. And I know that you had those going during the pandemic, and other advisors did too. I think
have a great one.
Clients really enjoy them, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a great one for you, Sean. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm so excited about this one. So yesterday, and I don't even know if you know about this one, but it was a hybrid event. So again, this is so fascinating, right? All the tools we have. It was a legacy letter writing challenge. I don't know if you read about that.
I did see that because I'm on your email list, and I did see something about that. Yeah, so go ahead.
So it's really amazing. So this guy, they were out swimming. I think they were in Hawaii, and the father drowned, and they were together. I'm getting goosebumps. Hey. And so he's young, he's in college, his father drowns, and really catastrophic. Anyway, a few months later, he saw a letter that his father had written to him, basically, son, I love you, I'm proud of you, all this. And it helped the son to grieve and move forward in his life. And now the son, who's, he's an adult, he's like in his 40s, has created this challenge that he wants 1 million people to write this legacy letter, and he does workshops. So I heard about him, we hired him, and yesterday we did the legacy letter writing workshop with our clients. Again, interestingly enough, it's totally a post-COVID thing. We had about 12 people at my home to do it. And then we had about 10 or 12 people dial in virtually because they couldn't make it to my home, whatever. Right. And so we had about 20 to 25 people taking advantage of this workshop, and just incredible about the framework, what to write to your children, and basically broke down all the parts of the letter. And I literally wrote my letter while we were there. My letter's like 95% done, and it was just really, really moving.
No, that's really interesting. And so were they calling in audio, or did you have a Zoom? Did you have a Zoom function? They were in on Zoom.
Yeah, we had Zoom.
Right. So this hybrid thing, it's really interesting because the terminology is even changing these days. Like in our financial educator program, we're referring to hybrid webinars as a pre-recorded webinar where the advisor is there beforehand, in chat during the event, and afterwards. So there's different notions of what hybrid can mean. Also, though, hybrid in person, virtual, another approach. And so I am curious, though, because in terms of pulling that off, it has seemed to me, for it to be really successful, you can correct me, that there ought to be somebody who's dedicated to interacting, like you have a co-host who's handling the Zoom, talking to the main person who's actually in the room. Is that how you guys did it?
They had somebody do that, Nathan. Yeah, it was interesting. They had somebody. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it is possible, but it's like I was thinking about the in-person training that Horse's Mouth does with advisors, and could we make those events, hybrid in this same manner? And I think the answer is possibly yes, but it would mean that like the main speaker, you or Elaine, might be there in person, but that the other person, that there'd be like a co-host with the computer interacting with the people.
Yes.
But
and
anyway.
reading the chat.
Exactly.
Right. And look, let's be honest. There were times where it was a little bit clunky, right? I'm not going to tell you, oh, this is the most beautiful situation. At times it was clunky, but like anything in life, you need to look at the trade-offs. So I was willing to accept clunkiness, a little clunkiness, for the fact that we were able to essentially double our attendance and reach people who otherwise could not have benefited from this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect example, literally, the comparing of in-person and virtual. And so, yes, there's clunkiness. And so maybe virtual was only 90% or 75% of the experience that the people were having in the room, but that's 75% off of zero. So the experience that they're having is still, absolutely meaningful, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I will tell you, probably if you interviewed all the people who were virtual, they're just thankful, like you're saying, that they could participate and benefit from this.
Yeah. Wow.
Right.
That's great. We'll have to talk more about that offline. Onboarding clients digitally is the other piece of this part of the program. Let's skip over that because we're only supposed to be on for 20 minutes or so, and we're running a little behind. But the other aspect of session 2 is going to be the client experience, client meetings and follow up, seeking feedback, staying top of mind with 12 months of ideas. Let's talk about that. What stay top of mind with 12 months of ideas? What's going on there?
Yeah, I wrote an article for Horse's Mouth with that probably 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And it is still as relevant today as it was back then. So the idea here is, you want a number of touches, and you want them in different ways, because you reach different people depending on what you're presenting to them, right? And again, yesterday, the Legacy Letter Challenge was a perfect example. Is certain people that don't come to any of our events, and all of a sudden they're showing up for this, right? Which is really pleasing, right? They're not going to show up for a golf event, but they're going to show up for this. Right. And so the 12 ideas, and I'm not going to remember all 12, but like one of them is the birthday outreach, which I am 100% dedicated to. Right. Then it's also client anniversary, anniversary with the firm, and wedding anniversary. We do a weekly newsletter, which I know is a big lift, but some type of newsletter, some type of outreach. So that's 4 of them. And there's 8 others. So I mean, all right,
it's okay. You don't need it. It's just that anyway. I mean, the point is that it gives you a framework for this sort of extra level of advisor to client communication that's happening throughout the year. Yes. And well, tell us how it's worked out, because you've been doing it for a while. Like, how do people feel about getting the anniversary or the anniversary notice or the birthday call or that sort of thing? Yeah,
I mean, we love it. I think the clients really appreciate, the birthday thing is interesting. For some people, we might be one of their only outreaches. We send them a birthday cake. And for some people, they're not receiving much from others. Yeah. And so it's really gratifying to do that type of outreach.
Yeah, right. But anyway, looping back to, since it's still about clients, the other item that I skipped over was onboarding clients digitally. What do you mean by that, onboarding clients digitally?
Yeah, so they talk about prospecting and onboarding, and a lot of advisors don't have any systems around this. There's no structure. I've seen studies where even the prospecting is basically done off of an advisor's memory, right? That they're not tracking what stage a prospect is in their development, what the next step is, so how are you supposed to close people if you don't even have a process to follow them and track that progress? And then, this is the next step, is you finally did close them miraculously. And now how are you onboarding them? So for example, here, part of our onboarding, we have digital work plans, workflows that come from Salesforce that lay out all the next steps for that onboarding process. But the other thing that's interesting, because you'll say, oh, that's a little bit too much work for us, or we're not quite there. But every Friday, they get a weekly update from us that, obviously there's a template that we follow. And every Friday, they get a weekly email on everything we completed for the week, what we owe them, and what they owe us. And they get that weekly email until they are completely onboarded.
And until you have completed a certain number of things that are part of your onboarding process, right?
That's right.
Great,
That's right.
yeah. And, obviously, really critical. I do believe that there's some referral research that has said that the bulk of people's referrals tend to come in those early months or years with the advisor. I don't know how true that is, but if it is true, probably, being very, dotting all your I's and crossing your T's and being very step by step, a lot of communication and transparency, bringing people on board, because frankly, it is a big pain in the butt, these account transfers and everything. I know it's tough for the advisors, and it's like, it's a burden for the clients too. So they have, in a way, you're kind of like reselling them on the decision that, yes, this has made sense for me to do this. Oh, this is a pain in the neck, but yes, I know this is going to be good for me over the long term.
Yeah, that's why, Sean. And there's a couple reasons. First of all, a lot of times your new clients in the past have been self-directed or haven't had a robust relationship with a financial advisor. So you essentially need to re-educate them and help them to understand what it means to have a real partner in their financial journey. And then others, you don't want this really robust prospecting process, right? Where we're following up and they say, oh, follow up in 2 weeks, and we're following up in 2 weeks, and give me a call in 3 days. We're calling them in 3 days. And then all of a sudden you close them and now you disappear and you don't have that great structure. And then people start feeling buyer's remorse, where they're like, exactly. Wow, like they were only interested in me to close me. And now that they've closed me, I've never heard from them again or whatever. And so I want to be very careful is, yes, we have a very robust follow-up procedure while you're a prospect, because I feel strongly about what we offer to clients, and we're on a mission to change people's lives. And so we are really passionate about bringing people on board, that makes sense for us. But then once I close you, I can't lose that passion. I've got to move you along. And so I want it to be, consistent in that level of dedication and follow-up.
Yeah. This is slightly off topic, but it reminds me of an advisor, Chad Henry, who I can't remember. He's got 3 key things if the client hasn't done as part of the onboarding process, they need to get done right away. I know one is an estate attorney and wills. If they don't have that, it's like, listen, if this isn't done in 90 days, the relationship will end. I'm not going to be here, and X number of years down the road, something happens, you pass away, and I have to talk to your family about the fact that you didn't have an estate or will or all that sort of stuff. So he'll fire you if you don't get that done in the first X number of days. And of course, they're there to assist, provide referrals and all that sort of stuff. I think cybersecurity is the other thing. It's like he wanted his clients to be up to date on cybersecurity. And there was another point too, but we can come back to that another time. All right, our time is running out, but Debbie, it's exciting. This is a great opportunity for people to hang with you and your team and take a deep dive into what's going on in their own businesses. Use this summer as an opportunity to bolster your approach and your posture toward building your business, building a better business workshop. That's what it's all about. And the link is in the chat. But also Doug Pierce, it's horsesmouth.com/better business.
Yeah, it's horsesmouth.com/BBBW23.
BBB. Build a Better Workshop 23, BBBW 23.
Yeah, build
right,
better
folks. And of course, you can find that on the Horse's Mouth public website as well under events. So everybody, thanks so much for being here. Doug, we're going to be back again with one of these soon, right?
Yes, next week.
Next week.
Next week, also at 10 a.m. on the 29th.
All right.
Yep.
Great, everybody. Have a good day.